Hey, welcome back. This is episode 2 of my historical playthrough of Victoria III as the nation of France. And in the last video, we worked hard to keep the House of Orléans on the throne, only to see the 1848 springtime of the People's Revolution force him to abdicate and put in place a provisional government and presidential republic. Now, this is actually a replay through of the game for one reason and one reason only, or should I say person only. And that person is this chap, Louis Napoleon Bonaparte III. Historically speaking, and I mentioned this in the first video, and I'm going to be mentioning this in this video, because even though this guy is loved by the people, he is absolutely despised by me. Historically speaking, he was supposed to be the president who was elected in the springtime of the people election, and he was not. So I have spent hours and hours and hours trying to get his interest group, Petite Bourgeoisie, which I've been mispronouncing the entire time, or at least for the whole first video, up out of the pit of marginalization so that we could put Petite Bourgeoisie hopefully in power and have them become the head of the presidential republic that was formed during the 1848 springtime of the peoples. And after many, many, many tries, I completely failed. It is so hard to dig these people out of the low clout that they had and bring them up even as far as I had. So we're going to unfortunately differ from history, which I really, really, really hate, but believe me, it wasn't for lack of trying. And so before we get into that, or before I continue ranting about that, which I'm going to do a fair amount of, let's go ahead and highlight some of the other differences, starting specifically with the date. In the previous game, the springtime of the People's Revolution did end, or excuse me, did kick off, not end, right in February of 1848. This replay I kicked it off a little bit earlier and fast-forwarded us to February of 1848, so we could take over and kind of pretend like it was the same game, but it's not. So let me highlight a couple of a couple of other differences for you that this playthrough is going to have. The first difference, aside from the date, is how much of French West Africa we currently have. And the reason for this is I really do kind of experiment with these playthroughs a little bit, and having moved the previous playthrough forward, as I somewhat predicted, Great Britain basically just decides to make Africa their entire continent, which, short of me going to war against them, which as I highlighted in the first video was not something that happened, I needed to spread out through French West Africa quite a bit more than I was previously. The second difference isn't so much a difference, really, so much as something I highlighted already, which was Petite Bourgeoisie are actually much higher clout than they were in the first video. They didn't even make it out of marginalized in the first video. So now they're 4.5%. I've been trying to push them up as hard as I can. It's just really not working. And that's going to lead us into our first major historical inaccuracy, which, again, is going to be my best buddy, Louis Napoleon Bonaparte III. I am just going to give up on trying to get him in power. The reason for this is he, again, not only should be elected president by 1848, which we're already there, and even though there is an election coming up following the provisional government, there's absolutely no way he'll make it. In addition to that, the Second Republic, which I believe we're in right now, yeah, it even calls it that, ends in 1852, historically speaking, with him as the president, and he basically declares himself emperor and gets a constitution put together to give him unlimited 10-year terms. That's what happened in history, and then he can kind of do whatever he wants. So we're going to try and simulate that. We're just going to leave him out of it. Sorry, bro, you made it just too hard to do it. Your petite bourgeois interest group sucks. Petite bourgeoisie, pardon me, sucks. It's too hard to get you up. So what I'm going to try to do is keep the enact autocracy movement going and find somebody by 1852 to put in government and be powerful and be angry and have a coup. We're going to really try for the coup mechanisms that were added in the Voice of the People DLC. That we're going to try to do by 1852. So that really is going to be historically inaccurate and yet a goal. So let's talk a little bit more about our goals. First goal is we're going to try and close out the Springtime of the Peoples by achieving a revolutionary victory, specifically having universal suffrage in place. Now, I've kind of wrangled on this one a little bit because the Springtime of the Peoples closing out in 1852 is actually kind of far, historically speaking, from a revolutionary victory. It is a revolution that occurred, and universal suffrage was put in place in 1848, which we can maybe try to do, but that is going to be really difficult. Frankly, because in 1852, there's a coup, and we go back to not monarchy, but autocracy, I almost thought it might be good to have a reactionary victory. But I can't do universal suffrage, which is historically accurate. It was voted in, universal male suffrage was voted in 1842. Once I do that, it'll close me out as a revolutionary victory. Unless there's something I could do here. We could not be in a revolution, or we could do it peace. No, I think it's just going to be too difficult to have done. So we could have monarchy with census suffrage, but he never really voted himself back in to be a king. I think we're just going to go with the revolutionary victory and then try and go with the coup. So that's really kind of goal number one, and it's gonna be tough to pull off in 4 years. I'm gonna try and end this video by 1852, which is gonna be really difficult. Goal number two is we're going to fully instate the French Foreign Legion, which is going to require us to have barracks in all three of these states at level 20. Not such a big deal, except for right now we're really suffering money-wise. I've got some tricks up my sleeve that I can do to make that go a little bit easier for us. But the French Foreign Legion was already built up at this point, probably not to its full strength, but certainly not to the pathetic levels that it is in the game, so we're going to focus on that quite a bit. Now, goal number three is really kind of just an expansion of goal number one. So goal number one is we're going to close out Springtime of the Peoples and pass universal suffrage. And then goal number three is we're going to try and get a coup going specifically to enact autocracy by 1852. That is going to be extremely challenging. Got some minor little hiccups that I need to take care of, especially including my economy and just normal gameplay mechanics. But those are the three things that we're going to try and do. We're going to close out the Springtime of the Peoples, we're going to build up the French Foreign Legion, and we're going to have a coup for autocracy, all by 1852. Are you ready? I think we can do it. So one of the problems that we're going to deal with right away is our inability to even try to pass universal suffrage. It's just simply not a law that has any sort of support behind it, because there's no interest groups in power that want it. The second thing we're going to have to deal with is the repercussions of what's going to happen if and when we do pass it. So we've got some groups that are going to be upset, but it actually looks like not too bad. Armed forces are going to go down to -20, and then the only interest group that's going to go down to angry, which could possibly cause a revolution, is going to be armed forces. We want to avoid a revolution. Remember, we're going to do a coup, not a revolution. So these currently are the only people that can do it, which would be fine, again, except for the fact that we can't pass it. Now, it would be nice if our intelligentsia agitator actually wanted to pass it, and then we could just have a movement and kind of work it through. But that's just not here. Now, do we have any other agitators that are going to step up to the plate and help us? Private health, no colonial. And of course, King Louis Philippe d'Orléans wants to restore monarchy. We just kicked you off the throne, bro. You're going to take a I don't want to say a victory lap, but take a defeat lap here, man. It's not going to happen, bro. So we need a new agitator, or we need to wait off the election, or we could potentially just try to reform government now. Except we're only going to have 20% legitimacy, and that's going to take us down to the capability to not even enact laws at all. So, not going to work. So, two options are take our current intelligentsia agitator, try and pass his agenda, and hope that he switches to universal suffrage. We could do that. We may do that. But the second thing we could do is simply just wait for the election to happen and hope that the votes go our way. And we could do some bolstering to get these things up. And we may do that. Let's go ahead and see when the next election is. Okay, September 1851, which is a long ways away and pretty close to 1852 when we want to have our coup. Can we even pull that off? And perhaps we just lean into this. If we can keep this movement going, keep these people angry enough. One thing that I always forget is that groups that are angry will not start a revolution if they're part of the government, which they still are. So, what I'm gonna try to do is, it's gonna take, I think, too much time to let this movement, I shouldn't have gone out of that, to let this movement, this agitator, find his footing, so to speak. So we're gonna exile him, which I can't do for another 3 years. Okay, that is super cool. We're not gonna exile him. What I would like to do is exile this guy, this fine young man who's caused me so much grief. I have tried probably a dozen playthroughs to try and get this guy into power, and it just doesn't work out. So I think we have really no choice but to get elected bureaucrats, hope he switches his place or his movement from elected bureaucrats to universal suffrage, and then string these people along, the enact autocracy people along. Hopefully, if we get universal suffrage, that will keep them angry enough to want to then put autocracy in place, which, of course, oddly enough, well, not oddly enough, but we will have universal suffrage in place, and then it will just be immediately placed by autocracy. Sure do wish we could just put it in place now, but that is not historically accurate. So universal male suffrage did indeed pass in 1848. There's no chance we're going to get it passed that soon, but we're going to try. So the first part of our plan is in place. Elected bureaucrats, we're at 1850, and this is why I was just saying, by 1852, 4 years to do all this, it's going to be really difficult. This video is not going to last a bunch of years because we're going to have to do a lot of quick maneuvering. With elected bureaucrats passed, the petite bourgeoisie are going to get a bump, which, okay, fine. I still don't know if it's going to be enough. 25% extra political strength from that. Okay, fine. But the real hope in passing elected bureaucrats was to free up our intelligentsia agitator to hopefully... Oh, and he just split. Alright, I was going to say to agitate for something else. Instead, he's like, peace, I'm out. Okay. Can we get anybody else? Please? Because otherwise we're going to have to put intelligentsia in power and go for broke with them advocating for universal suffrage, which, you know what, at this point with no agitator, I think that that's our only choice, unfortunately. Private health, autocracy, monarchy, colonial exploitation. I mean, we could do another dance where we put another intelligentsia in here and advocate and agitate, excuse me, for colonial exploitation, which, I mean, technically all of France's involvement in Africa was colonial exploitation. I don't make any claims on that being... you know, I'm not trying to advocate for that, certainly, but I think it would just take too long. But then again, we need to wait until 1851 for the next election anyway. Okay, so how does this guy feel about universal suffrage? Okay, intelligentsia, which of course they're supporters of it, right? Is it under reformers or Republican? There it is, under Republican, strongly endorsed. Okay. So I mean, I guess we might as well just bring this guy in. Let's go back there. And maybe when we do colonial exploitation, he can switch to universal suffrage. Let's just make sure he's not ideologically opposed to it. Oh, and then we can't bring him in because... No, because we can't do anything with an agitator until... I thought we just couldn't kick him out until September 1850. Okay, so this is a lost cause. So we're going to wait for the election. That's all there is to it. April 30th, 1851. Here we are with the election to occur in 132 more days. I've done the best I can do to boost up the Republican Union. God willing, some more events will happen because we're going to need to put them in power to vote for universal suffrage. Let's go ahead. This is probably too long to make you wait to watch this. Go ahead and fast forward this a little bit and see what the election results are. Okay, 12 more days to go. I'm really starting to not feel good about this. Landowners have too low of and too high a power. Okay, we'll be able to put a government in place that can go for universal suffrage, no problem. Oh, barely. Alright. Well, we're at 48 as it is, so government legitimacy is a huge issue at this point. We'll be able to put a government in place and pass the law, but the moment we do, everyone's going to lose their minds, which sucks. Let's take a look and see how it goes. So let's go ahead and just try and pass the law. I think it's going to be absolute chaos. Okay. All these notifications. Blah, 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 blah. Let's just make sure I didn't miss anything. No. Alright, we have 2 negatives. There's a chance they could come down before they flip out and lose their minds. I'm kind of surprised a revolution hasn't started happening already. It's a little odd. So good, I guess. I mean, 44% chance pass to start. That's pretty darn good. Especially with a major advance chance here as well. Oh, there's our revolution. Okay. Yeah, and it's extreme, as I thought. Now, what could be good here is these who are we on? Yeah, armed forces and landowners. Okay. Is these approval ratings are not terrible. They could come down. I mean, once one of these people goes, like for example, armed forces goes below 10, then we're good. And we're losing negatives. Okay, so we've got a -2 from unacceptable government, which I could try to flip, but I'm not going to be able to change anything government-wise that would ruin us. Why the hell are petite bourgeoisie in power? That's weird. Okay, we might be able to mess around with the budget. High budget's got us -10 legitimacy. Let's take it down to normal budget. We'll be suffering monetarily for a little bit. No big deal. It's just raising concerns. Express our concerns. Okay, well, this doesn't really matter. Vultures on the carcass. Defected to the armed forces cause. We don't want that. Bureaucracy? Yeah, we can do that. Okay, but really... Okay, so we went down... -11, -11. Because of legitimacy. If we could just push this a little bit more, which we can, taxes-wise. It's going to cost us a ton of money. But... that should... I'm surprised it didn't give us more favor than that. Okay, this level of legitimate... I mean, this was previously costing us, what, 2 approval? And somehow 11 minus 2 is what? Oh, good. There we go. Okay, we lost it. There it is. Okay, and I don't know why I'm floating out in the American... or the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, so, revolution's gone. We have still a movement to preserve wealth voting, but it's not revolutionary. Yay. So we could probably put the money back a little bit, right? Okay, what's this going to do to us? It's just money. Okay, we go back down again. So they're going to have this -2 approval, which is fine. Nobody's angry. Everybody calm down. There's more reforms. They can spread out. Yeah, sure. And then inefficient. I always just like whatever. Some of the events are like whatever. Okay, we're still working on the French Foreign Legion. Just FYI. So I think we're just gonna let it roll. We're already in 1852, and we haven't even passed universal suffrage yet. I don't think we're going to be able to pull off a coup at all. Now, if I recall, the Catholic Church will primarily stand behind. Petite bourgeoisie got their elected bureaucrats. They're flying high. It'd be great if I could actually push their clout up, but it's going to take a lot to upset them at this point. So I think we're going to have to pass universal suffrage and then go back to trying to upset the Catholic Church while they're in government. Ugh. That's going to be tough. Let's just focus on universal suffrage and get it out of the way. So we're still working on it, but we finished the French Foreign Legion. Yay! The erection of the permanent legionary barracks in Oran dubbed the Quotidiano. I'm sure I pronounced that improperly. French Foreign Legion has been established as a premier fighting force in Africa. What do we want to do? Okay, Barracks gets Legion morale recovery for 19 years. And armed forces have increased political strength. That might not be the greatest here, except we're not super radical here. Okay. Well, either way, we get 25. Okay, so it's armed forces get strength, or we have migration attraction to Constantine, Algiers, and Iran. Okay, what does our armed forces look like in terms of strength? Oh, 18.2. They don't need extra strength then. Okay, let's go ahead and pump up the North Africa. So, French Foreign Legion, done. Yay. And let's keep going with universal suffrage, see how it goes. Possibly a very intriguing option here. Occasionally, while you're trying to pass this, you get an option that basically says, just push it through. So, let's try it. This will radicalize these people, and they will start a civil war. But they won't start a civil war because they're radicalized on preserving wealth voting, and this would put universal suffrage in place, and this movement would theoretically disband. They'll be upset, so they're going to want to start something, which could be a movement to adopt autocracy, which could be exactly what I want. So, let's try it. Liberté, égalité, fraternité. Let's go. Okay. Universal suffrage is in. Wealth voting says placated. That's kind of odd. It wasn't placated, obviously. Springtime of the people should be done. Oh, it is. Okay, exactly what we wanted. Looking good, looking good. Revolution is victorious. Okay, what do we want to do here? Add to legitimacy, or make our pops more loyalists. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, it's legitimacy regardless of who's in power. And these people... this could be absolutely perfect. Okay. We might have a coup. Maybe. Maybe. This would be so baller. Okay, let's do this very carefully. Let's put these people in power. Okay, no. We can do the legitimacy right away. Doesn't really matter. Okay. No, pops are good. Yes, legitimacy. Okay, that happened right away. Good. Yes. Good. We can put the Party of Order back in power, but they're still pissed. Yes. Let's see what happens. I'm excited. Come on, coup for autocracy. Okay, this is the thing. I've seen coups happen before, but they just kind of randomly... Oh, because these need to be powerful. That's right. Alright, we can certainly and should stop bolstering these folks. Bolster our angry... interest groups. Try to push them into 20%. Let's let the clock run out here. I don't think it's going to happen that quickly. No, you're going the wrong way. Go up. naturally, things are still not going my way. So instead of getting angry and starting a coup, they got angry and left the government. My dad used to always say, "Don't go away mad, just go away." They went away mad. Why they're even in revolution with radicalism at 46 is kind of beyond me. Okay, so they just left. That's it. They're just pissed. We don't want to affect any change. We're just going to leave. Alright, well, having tried as much as I can, as often as I can, to get this guy into power by 1852, I think I just have to declare straight defeat. This is not going to happen. What we're going to do is switch goals, or stretch goals, and try to, I guess, get him in power whenever we can. We don't even have any support for autocracy anymore. The Catholic Church was supporting it before. They're no longer angry enough to support it. There's not a whole lot that we're going to be doing, historically speaking, though we should have passed Falloux laws already, so we should probably do that, which is going to make the Catholic Church happy. And what I'm referring to is by 1851, a good amount of education was delegated to religious schools, to the Catholic Church. And so we should do that. So it's only got an 11% chance now. Let's go ahead and get started. Catch up. That's going to make Catholic Church even happier and even less likely to support autocracy. So I don't know how we're going to get this to happen. We're just going to push this nation forward and hope for a miracle. So while we're waiting for something interesting to happen, let's take a look at some wars that France was involved in. France was involved in the Taiping Rebellion, which was a rebel uprising, I believe with religious origins, that happened in China. I do have some declared interests here to just sort of keep aware of them. I guess I'm missing a declared interest somewhere. Not sure where. But let's go ahead and add an extra one here in North China. But it's really hard to basically force that. I suppose if a rebellion occurs, I could say I will choose a side in it against China and supporting the rebels for historical accuracy's sake. So we'll just have to wait and see if that happens. A second event that France was involved a lot more in was the Crimean War, where Russia took Danubian provinces that were back in the day under the suzerainty, I guess, of the Ottoman Empire. Right now they're occupied by Austria, which is a little bit odd. I believe I have relationships with all of these people in some way. Okay, trade agreement with Austria, but also, yeah, with Austria. Okay. I believe I might even have a defensive. So the Ottoman Empire waged war on Russia at the start to start the Crimean War, which France did participate in. I believe I have a. I probably should just be looking at myself. Let's see here. I believe I have a defensive with Ottomans. That's correct. I could probably form a defensive with Austria, but that gets a little bit odd when we start talking about the wars of Italian unification. So the first Italian independence war was fought with Sardinia-Piedmont as a belligerent, and France sided with Austria. That was in 1848. But we have a second Italian War of Independence, theoretically coming up in 1859, where France, let's see, sides against Austria. So I should probably at this point can my defensive relationship with them, which I'm going to do. Oh, I don't have defensive. Okay, I do have a trade agreement with them. Let's make sure I'm doing this right. No defensive. Okay, why can't I end my trade? Oh, can't end this until 1855. Okay, so we'll just end it at that point. What do we have with Sardinia-Piedmont? Okay. I hate forming alliances because actual alliances, because as part of the game, some of these countries will be like, I want to attack India or something like that. Like, whoa, hold on. So we need to build up better relationships with Sardinia-Piedmont. They're going to ask for an obligation just to form a trade agreement with me. Okay. Even though I have plus 14 with them. So we'll work on that, getting on their side, and then not being friends of Austria. We can see already game-wise they've really extended out into Italy. So I'm not sure how the wars of Italian independence are going to go. We're going to have to monitor the diplomacy on that pretty closely. But one of the military conflicts that we can certainly be more proactive in, and France was the Coinchina campaign, or with Dai Nam, which is now modern-day Vietnam. There is an event that's in this game that will fire. It's hard to get it to fire. If you've got armed forces or Catholic Church powerful, there is an event which is true to history, where Dai Nam will start expelling Catholic Christians, and France can come to their aid and wage war on them, which they did. So this is going to happen in 1858. We're going to begin a military campaign against Dai Nam regardless, because sometimes I've waited for the event and it never happens. Sometimes the event fires in like 1842. I did create a small historical mod for myself, which says that the event should not trigger any earlier than 1848. But we've already been there and passed. And one of the other things I need to keep an eye on, and I've seen this in previous test playthroughs, is that Great Britain will get a little frisky in here and start trying to take Dai Nam, which we need for ourselves. So by 1858, we're definitely going to be in there. This video I was hoping to end by 1852, not going to happen. I think we're going to end by 1859, where we will be waging war in Dai Nam, and also will have begun work on the Suez Canal, which we could start right now, but we'll probably start in like 1856. So we still have an election coming up. Just wanted to have a little bit of an interlude there and talk about some other things we can do, but for now, let's go back to sleep until the election happens. So the Falloux laws have passed, 4 years too late, unfortunately, but good, it just gave us something to do, I suppose. We've been doing some more military in French West Africa. We're getting closer to the time where the scramble for Africa really did occur, so I'm going to be less apologetic about breaking away from actual history there. We've managed to sort of keep Great Britain away, which is nice. And just continuing the colony growth here. And what we'll do is, once it's fully colored in, so to speak, maybe we'll compare that to what the historical map of French West Africa did look like back in those times and see how close I can get. So, we've got, how many? 90 days to go till the election. Let's fast forward a little. So here we are. The results are in. The Republican Union, crushing it. And for the first time in history, the petite bourgeoisie actually made it into government. It's amazing. It's a miracle. Well, technically not yet, but they got enough votes, right? So let's go ahead and 100. What is even going on? Amazing. Do we care either way? What is it? Do we want intelligentsia or not? I guess for now, let's say no. Okay, so we can do something that's never ever happened before because petite bourgeoisie is broken for France. And that is, we can make Louis Napoleon actually be the leader now that he's in government. So we're going to give him leadership of the petite bourgeoisie, and he's in government. What? Oh my gosh, we could actually catch up to where we should have been in 1848, 7 years ago. But let's see what we can do with this. I think making him leader basically kills the enact autocracy movement. Fine. I think we still have the option to do autocracy. We do. This could be amazing. 12% chance, not that big of a deal. Or not that big. Okay, the problem is a lot of people are going to get upset. A lot of people. Rural folk and intelligentsia, both of which are in government with me. Not so good. Okay. We might need to delay this a little bit because they would both, well, either lead a coup, which would be great because then I'd get to see it, but probably just leave and start a revolution. Both of them. And what we also saw here, let's go ahead and take a look at the votes, is, where's it at? We saw for the first time the impact of universal suffrage. So I would imagine that clout for rural folk is pretty high. Yeah, I mean, you can see this big skyrocket there. And all of a sudden, not only do they have strength, but huge political strength from votes because they're the most populous group. At least I'm pretty sure that's the case. Here, let's go ahead and just compare. 1.9 mil, 248K, 190. Yeah, exactly. So they're the most popular, and they basically got their one man, one vote, right? Or at least in theory, that's what it was supposed to be. So I don't want to get too excited. What happened to my 100% legitimacy? Okay, it's related to something else. Perhaps because we're still taxing the crap out of people, we can dump that down a little bit. Anyway, I want to get too excited about having Louis Napoleon finally in government and doing anything stupid. So we're going to continue on for a little bit and see how it goes, press some of these military engagements, start building the Suez Canal, and then probably be done, 1859. An interesting event here, the Royal Decree. I don't know that it necessarily has to do with this person historically. Sympathetic to their plight, leader of the intelligentsia has proposed the granting of French citizenship to Algeria's native Jewish population, which does have some, it appears, historical precedence. From Wikipedia, the French government granted the Jews, who by then numbered some 33,000, French citizenship in 1870 under the Crémieux Decree, while maintaining an inferior status for Muslims, who, though technically French nationals, were required to apply for French citizenship and undergo a naturalization process. So from a historical perspective, it looks like this did happen. So we're going to go ahead and approve this. What's it going to do? Okay, standard of living for Sephardim. Okay, but we're going to completely understandably, make Maghrebi and Amazigh, I'm probably pronounced those improperly, I'm sorry, more radical. Let's go ahead and do it for history's sake. It's probably time to get set up. It's 1856, almost 1857. Probably time to get set up for our final two efforts here. First, let's go ahead and begin the survey of the Suez Isthmus. Bit of a bureaucracy hit there, which I wasn't totally prepared for, but we're getting there. We're going to build up some more bureaucracy here. What else do we need to do with that? I know we're going to need to have a good relationship with Egypt for that, so let's make sure that that's going to happen. This is not with Egypt. This is just annexing an existing puppeted state. Anyway, we're also passing right of assembly to try and bring people's opinions up so we can try to force autocracy through. What's this? Ew, man, I don't think I can take another hit to bureaucracy. So we're going to have to damn this labyrinthine legal system and make it harder to pass. Okay, a couple other businesses. You know what, let me just put these things aside for a minute. So we're going to build up relationships with Egypt so that we can try and work with them on the Suez Canal. And also, I've got a decent-sized military at this point. We're going to wait until 1858 because there's not a lot of pressure from Great Britain or East India Company on Dainam, and then we're going to invade and defend our French Catholics there who are being mistreated. May 4th, 1858, the survey of the Suez Isthmus is completed. We have two options, basically: take it at gunpoint or make them an offer. Which we're going to do, the offer. And that's going to give us a journal entry to construct the Suez. For some reason, I thought we had to have higher relationship with them. Oh, yeah, there's like a decision or something like that. Yeah, acquire land. Okay. So we need to have relations with them above 20 to make the offer. We don't yet, but that should be coming. But one of the things that we are going to begin as we wrap up the video is our invasion of Dainam. Currently working on an annex. Not anymore. Okay, good. Now we can finally see what this would look like. So we could take a treaty port. Always a decent way to start. We're going to have to go against Portugal for whatever reason. And then, of course, all these other countries that could be interested could make this rather exciting. So let's see what our other options are. Could have sworn we had like a... I'm surprised we don't have a conquer option. Or a puppet option or anything like that. Maybe just because we're not next to them or something. Or maybe, let's see what their country. Okay, they're an unrecognized regional power. Okay. Let's go ahead and just start the treaty port instead of trying to do anything else. Let me just make sure I'm not missing something. You know what we can do is, this is such a helpful feature, is if we go to interactions and see unavailable place targeting states. Why can't we do this? Oh, I see. We have they've been building good relationships with us for too long. Okay. So rather than wait for that, we're going to go ahead and just take the treaty port and start disrupting relationships with them. That may even... let's see what it's going to do. Okay, it gives us 8 infamy. I'm surprised it doesn't just trash our relationship with them. It should. Okay, let's just do it. and see what happens. All right, we're going against Dynam. Also, what, Portugal? Are they some kind of protectorate of Portugal's? I didn't even look at that. I probably should have. Oh no, Portugal's got a defensive pact with them. Okay, yeah, I'm not super scared of Portugal, to be honest with you. Oh, and maybe I can even take some of their land. Although I don't think this was technically a part of French West Africa, and I'm not really gonna care. So let's get set up for war and see how it goes. So they back down, which is fine. So we have a treaty port in Mekong now. I didn't realize that Cambodia, who had originally sided with Dynam, was some sort of, yeah, tributary to Dynam. We'll have to deal with that later. The Coinchina campaign was indeed that, a campaign that lasted from 1858 to 1862, so we'll be doing it by the third video. For now, we've gotten enough infamy to sort of let it go. I don't think I can even still puppet them or whatever. I may go ahead and just expel diplomats and take the hit on that. We'll get an infamy of 10. Fine. What are we at now? 8 or something like that? 7? Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Let's go ahead and do that just in preparation to continue pushing on this. Because I didn't realize that they had worked to suck up to me. And then we're throwing all my Catholics out while at the same time talking nice to me. No good. So we'll go ahead and expel diplomats. And the final thing we're going to do is just wait for our relationship with Egypt to pick up and then start work on the Suez Canal. September 1858, I'm going to go for broke and try to enact autocracy. However, it's going to make enough people upset still that I think we're going to radicalize this No Home Affairs effort. So why don't we go ahead and just pass that anyway? Was that under National Guard? Yeah. Are we going to upset anybody with this? No, but we're going to make a lot of people very happy right before we pass autocracy. 62%, it should pass pretty quickly. So let's see how that goes. Who's upset? Landowners. Okay. Armed forces, not too bad. They should relax. I don't think we need to do anything to make them happier. We could decrease taxes. Anyway, we're gonna try and ride this out and make another attempt at autocracy, and hopefully this passes fairly quickly. We just got the Treaty of, I don't know how it's pronounced, Turin. Someone please make a comment and let me know. I'd be very grateful. So this officially happened in 1860, where the Kingdom of Sardinia-Piedmont was looking for French assistance in, having a unified, independent Italy, which they will get. I will gladly help you. And one of the things that the Treaty of Turin did was add the states of Savoy here and French Provence to the nation of France, which is historically accurate. So you're going to give me territory and it's historically accurate? Yes, please. So, done. French borders now look a little bit differently. Again, historically accurate. So happy to see that. I mistakenly believe that was a result of the Second Italian War of Independence. It wasn't. Apparently it was a precursor to it. So we'll see. I don't think we can really talk the AI into doing much of anything, but we're going to go along with it and offer them our assistance against Austria if necessary. In fact, let's do something that I don't normally do. Let's offer them a true alliance. I love it. I'm going to owe you if you'll be my ally. Will not. Okay, what is this? I thought it said we could. Form an alliance. Would accept if we owe them an obligation. If we owe them an obligation. I don't really get it. Oh, they don't want our obligation. Oh, I think because they already have one from us. Don't ask me why. Well, I would say let's try it. I don't know why these buttons are even here. It's like if they're not going to accept, you're going to be like, well, let's try and do it anyway. All right, I was going to try. I'm here. I'm here if you need me. Austria or Sardinia, Piedmont, I will gladly help you attack Austria. For history. So, I don't know if I can call this a complaint, but this is just something that's a little upsetting. The whole nature of subsistence farms in this game, I get it. You know, it fills many purposes. But we have 28.1 million peasants. Maybe that's historically accurate. I don't really know. And then just gobs of unemployed laborers. So you add universal suffrage onto that, and you get the giant green line of doom, which now has 71% of the votes. I'm not going to be able to do anything in this country except pass farm bills pretty soon. A little bit of a rant there, I admit it. Let's maybe even just speed up the election and see, you know, the truth of it. Again, we're seeing the truth right here, unless there's some drastic movement to change momentum. I mean, they're going to absolutely crush the election and probably wipe out everything that I'm trying to do. So, here we go. You're out. Matthew Deladome in. 71% of the election goes to the farmers. Sweet. I can't even keep petite bourgeoisie in power anymore. It's like, do you want farmers, or farmers? Yeah. Alright, let's see. I mean, I guess I can leave it at 54, which I'm going to. They're already in power, too. Like, I still really want to pass autocracy, so we're going to just ignore this as long as we can. Okay, it's still 1859, and our relationship with Egypt is good. So we are going to acquire land in the Sinai, which is going to give us 30,000 weekly expenses. Fine. But we now have a French Sinai on which to build the... Where's it at? There it is. On which to build the Suez Canal. So let's get a port in there first. Suez Canal second. And construction is underway. Oh, and this just is the coolest thing. I love how the actual canal shows up while you're starting to build it. So cool. So that's really going to wrap us up, except for I am going to leave you with a cliffhanger. Dun dun dun. We are going to finally try to enact autocracy. Nobody's going to be that upset about it. It's 1860. Only a 10% chance. But we are going to try it. Thank you for joining. To be continued.